Welcome back to our series, Skills You Might Suck At. This is a series where we talk to the things you do or don't do every day that can make or break your body's ability to move long term. We've touched on sitting and how to sit better, but today we're talking about the second part of sitting less. Like we mentioned before, sitting for a majority of your waking hours makes you more prone to chronic diseases. This is true even if you are exercising regularly. Joints that don't move as often are more prone to arthritis, which seems contrary to what we would think, but it's a result of the fact that our body reinforces the places that have more force placed on them. High impact activities and injury can increase arthritis, but being sedentary can also make us more prone to joint degeneration. That's right. Not moving much can do the same thing to your joints that putting tons of force through them can. This is not your grandma's figurine collection we're talking about. Joints need use to stay healthy. Using your muscles throughout the day also means you stay stronger long term. So, while you can improve your sitting biomechanics, it's also worth seeing if you can cut down on your sitting time. We sit in our cars to go to work, we sit at our desk to do work, and we sit to eat. Sometimes at the desk or in the car, and then we're tired and stressed to the point that we crash on our couch for the rest of the night. Other activities we've either made possible to do sitting or have eliminated the need to do them by hand altogether. Mowing, getting our food, cooking said food, washing dishes, going to the bathroom, and more. So here's a few ideas to pick from to help improve the amount of sitting that you do. Take breaks. It's not groundbreaking, I know, but set yourself a timer and give yourselves a few options for movement. This could be as simple as starting by printing to a printer farther away from you and walking to get it, or using a movement routine to stretch, or if you're like me and can't get back into the zone once you're out of it, just creating a paper workspace or to-do chart on the wall near your computer to move toward and see if you're staying on task can help. My other favorite addition to my workspace is a pull-up bar to hang off of. I suck at pull-ups. I'm working on it. But even hanging gets me better shoulder and thoracic spine range of motion, which are two things that we tend to lose by sitting all the time. Lay down. If you're working on a laptop at home, you can always lay on your belly and work that way. It can be a way to pull your head and your shoulders back while allowing your hips and your knees to be an extension for a while. I like to use this as an opportunity to work on hip mobility and planking and core support too. Just don't do this if you're working at a coffee shop. Now, some people report pain in this position. It may be resolved with some mobility work, but if you can't resolve these pains, work with a practitioner to check correct posturing and to address the lack of mobility along the spine or the lack of stability in the core. Buy or build yourself a variable workstation. Or, in my case, find a couple of workstations around your house that you can cycle through. This could be a desk that raises or lowers, a bookshelf that you can alter screen height with, a stool that goes up or down, a tall table that you can use standing or sitting on a stool, a low table that can be used from the floor and maybe a cushion to sit on. And with each workstation, you can use multiple positions and work on mobility while you plug away at your day job. One tool I find helpful with this is a keyboard that attaches to my laptop. If I wanted at eye level, but I'm not laying on the ground, I can just plug in my keyboard and then I don't have to hike my shoulders way up to type. If you're using a standing workstation, you may want a pad under your feet or a mat for texture. What I wouldn't recommend is getting big cushy tennis shoes with a ton of padding because usually that means you're standing in positive heeled shoes that shifts your weight forward, and that usually gives you low back pain because you have to pull your upper body back to compensate. If you're on a phone call, stand, squat, or walk. Obviously, if you have a corded phone, that last one doesn't work so well.
Did you want to see some brochures?
But if you have a lot of phone calls that don't require you to be next to your computer, walking makes for a solid way to move and not work out at the same time. Invest in some voice-to-text software. If you have to do a lot of writing, voice-to-text can be useful, but also usually creates some really weird sentences. The time required to set up a customized software so it knows what you're actually saying can be worth it if you have to do a lot of writing. Schedule walking meetings, and if you need to make notes, use Evernote or some other mobile note software. Rather than parking way out in the parking lot, see if there's times you can actually just leave your car at home. Figure out what parts of your day you could bike or walk to. For some folks, this isn't practical because of the distances involved in your day. For others, it's simply figuring out what routes are available, where bike lanes are, or where sidewalks are. If you're moving homes and you want to incorporate more movement into your day, make this a consideration. The last house where we lived, it was actually really difficult to safely ride or walk anywhere besides my smallish neighborhood, and the golf course next door definitely frowned on pedestrians. So when we looked at moving houses, I also looked at the walkability of the neighborhood and how far it was from groceries and restaurants. You can read upright. I'm a big reader, which usually means I'm sitting around. I can vary my position a lot as I work through a book, but recently I've started listening to audiobooks through my public library. This lets me process through the same information, and I can take notes through Evernote on my phone if I want and clip audio bites as I go. I was marathon training last year, and rather than it cutting into my reading time, I actually increased the amount of books I went through per month. Go on a walk after lunch or dinner, no matter how short. If you're going out, see if you can go somewhere within walking distance. Spend family time being active. I have little to no coordination when it comes to sports, but I really do like to hike and ride bikes. A free date night spent outdoors with my other half leaves us in much better moods than going to a movie. For those of you who hate the idea of a walk or can't coerce your kids or significant other into anything resembling a walk, figure out how to do something active that can be done together. Play catch or basketball, find a playground, build something, go climbing or kayaking, take a cooking class, or just see what free events or activities are in your area. Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you have to stop playing. If you're watching TV, get up during ads or get down on the floor. Even small bits of added movement can change the impact of sitting and help pull you out of your Netflix-induced coma. Go to bed earlier. Honestly, this is the absolute hardest for me. But most of the time, if I spend multiple hours sitting after dinner, it's if hubby and I flip on the TV. I also tend to get less sleep and sit on my bum for hours at a time. So I've learned that for me, going to bed a little earlier and getting up means I'm more productive, I get a little bit more outside time in the morning, and I get more sleep. I'm not great at it, but it definitely gives me a better start to my day. You've heard it before, take the stairs. But in reality, the most effective ways of adding movement are the ones that you'll actually keep as part of your routine. That requires a bit of intention on the front end to design lasting habits that actually work in your life. To figure out how to keep moving more once you've started, I recommend The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg to help you come up with some ideas for making habits that actually last in your specific situation. We have so much technology at our fingertips, and for some people, it's helpful to have their phone track sedentary time, and if that's you, great. Use your phone. That actually stresses me out, so instead, I just know on the days where I have to do more computer work, I'll be in the workspace I've created that allows me to move while not getting distracted. There's plenty of ways to sit less, but hopefully that gives you a few actionable ideas that you can actually put into practice. So happy doing whatever it is that you do that gets you off your bum.